Frank Castle is back. But man, after watching Marvel's brand new special presentation, The Punisher: One Last Kill, the internet is completely split. Are we looking at a broken man crippled by PTSD, or the cold-blooded tactical machine we all remember? Today, we're diving deep into his brutal return, digging up some insane hidden Easter eggs, and revealing exactly how this 48-minute bloodbath sets up the entire street-level future of the MCU. So do me a quick favor and hit that like button to support the explainer, and let's get punishing. Kicking things off with Chapter 1, The Broken Vigilante, we find a guy who is completely unmoored. After wiping out the Ganucci crime family and finally escaping Wilson Fisk's prison, Frank just goes totally off the grid in Little Sicily. But look, he isn't resting. He is being tormented. The sources clearly lay out a Frank Castle who is suffering from severe burnout and PTSD. He got his bloody revenge, sure, but without a war to fight, the quiet is literally destroying him.
Now, the critics, they absolutely ate this bold, creative choice up. Reviewers over at the Hollow Files actually called it the deepest and darkest dive into the tormented psyche of the Punisher to date. They gave massive praise to director Reinaldo Marcus Green and, of course, John Bernthal for crafting this 20-minute, emotionally heavy character study of trauma. Instead of just rushing straight into the gunfire, they really took the time to show us the gritty, chaotic streets of New York, all through the lens of Frank's fractured mind. But, and this is a massive but, this completely fractured the fan base. If you jump over to the Punisher subreddits, a really vocal chunk of the fans were super frustrated. To them, Frank Castle is a human war machine, right? People were quick to point out that Frank basically ignores local crimes happening right in front of his face and just mopes around for half the runtime instead of taking out the trash. Their whole argument is that the definitive Punisher wouldn't second-guess his mission. He'd just reload.
So for that entire first half, Frank is completely trapped in his own head. He's suffering from these really intense hallucinations that kind of punish and preserve his fragile psyche at the same time. We're talking ghosts of his dead family, visions of his old squad mates like Curtis Hoyle, and actually the biggest shocker for the fanbase was an incredibly well-received one-scene cameo by Deborah Ann Woll as Karen Page. These ghosts aren't just thrown in for shock value, though. They totally represent the war raging inside his head. It's a night and day contrast. Think back to the Netflix-era Punisher who was driven by this white-hot need for revenge. Compare that to this One Last Kill iteration, who is paralyzed by PTSD without a clear purpose. Before we get into the villains who finally snap him out of this depression, I really want to know what you guys think. Drop a comment below. Do you prefer a highly tactical, action-first Punisher, or are you digging this tragic, emotionally complex version? Let me know. All right, moving right along to Chapter 2, Ma Ganucci and the Bloodbath. The ticking clock of this whole special really kicks off when Ma Ganucci enters the fray. And wow, TV legend Judith Light plays her brilliantly. As the surviving matriarch of the decimated crime family, she doesn't mess around. She drops a massive citywide bounty right on Frank's head. With just one order, she unleashes literally every low-level criminal, hitman, and thug in New York directly onto Frank's doorstep. And this bounty, it rips the door wide open for the broader MCU, because the Easter eggs we get here are insane. Obviously, Ma Ganucci is a legendary comic villain herself, but eagle-eyed fans realized her silent, hulking bodyguard Barry is actually the MCU debut of the infamous villain Barracuda. No way, right? Add in that super subtle detail of the anti-vigilante task force leaving flowers on his daughter's grave, and you really see how deeply this weaves into New York's street-level lore. And guys, this is where the pacing violently shifts. Once those hitmen breach Frank's apartment block, we are treated to a non-stop John Wick meets the raid's survival mission. Seriously, reviewers are calling this some of the most visceral, unapologetic action in the entire MCU. Frank goes full animal. He uses everything around him, including a jaw-dropping sequence with a ballpoint pen, pushing his body to the absolute threshold of pain before he finally throws on that iconic skull vest. All of this builds up to a wildly brutal climax. The exact moment that signals Frank's unapologetic return involves a group of thugs who harass an unhoused man and tragically kill his dog. In the closing moments, Frank, fully geared up in the Punisher armor, just straight up executes the scumbag responsible. It is pure, unfiltered catharsis that heavily mirrors that fan-favorite short film Dirty Laundry. It proves his killer instinct hasn't dulled one bit. So, Frank survives the night, but man, this bloodbath just painted a massive target on his back. Ma Ganucci is still out there pulling strings, and the city's criminal underbelly is now fully aware that the Punisher is back in business. This is absolutely vital lore for the street-level heroes. So do your friends a favor and share this explainer with a Marvel fan who needs to catch up before the next phase of the MCU kicks into high gear.
Okay, let's look at Chapter 3, the MCU future. This whole journey perfectly acts as the ultimate bridge. Think about it. It takes the Frank Castle who escaped from Wilson Fisk's prison and Born Again, forces him to confront his absolute darkest demons here in One Last Kill, and directly primes him for his confirmed collision course with Peter Parker in Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's all connected.
His evolution here is just undeniable. The past Frank was a broken veteran. He was constantly running from his trauma, constantly fighting this brutal war inside his own head. But future Frank, he has completely transformed that grief into a cold, mechanical purpose. The hallucinations are gone. The hesitation, gone. He isn't fighting himself anymore. He is fully weaponized and has totally accepted his dark, permanent role in the city.
Murphy's multiverse really hit the nail on the head regarding his new status quo. It's chillingly clear. Much like Garth Ennis's legendary comic run, this version of Frank doesn't view his vigilantism as some noble superhero calling. He doesn't actually want to be the Punisher. But he looks around at this corrupt city, and he realizes he is literally the only person left who is willing to cross that line and take out the trash. The internal war is officially over. So the ultimate question remains, who is going to survive Frank's next war? He is locked, loaded, and heading straight for Spider-Man. How in the world is Peter Parker's strict no-kill rule going to clash with Frank's lethal brand of justice? If you want to see exactly how that epic showdown is going to play out, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out our full breakdown of Spider-Man Brand New Day right here. See you next time.